You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the Black Man with a Gun Show. This week, the world according to Ken. Enemies, allies, spies, politics, and guns. How to get started in the gun community if you live in Maryland. From no gun to concealed carry. Interview with the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use by John J. Petrolino. All this and more coming up next. You've survived another week. Thank you for sharing, supporting, and staying a faithful friend. This is the Black Man with a Gun Show podcast, The Peacemaker. Since 2007, with over 200 plus game changers and guests, American history, gun culture, and a conscientious look at our community.
I'm back, baby!
You know, when I got started, I wanted to be a firearms instructor, a super firearms instructor, highly tactical firearms instructor, but I didn't have a range. So I had to borrow ranges. I had to go places. I had to create my own courses and use indoor ranges and outdoor ranges. And it was a lot of work. It actually took all the profits I had just doing all the organization. And it became not as fun as I wanted it to be. It became work. It was worse than work because I started off with 3 people. I ended up by myself. And the push was relentless. You know how as entrepreneurs, we're on the go. We can't stop. We got to succeed. And I basically bankrupted my family trying to make my business grow. I did a lot of stupid things, hoping that if I build it, they will come. Well, you flash forward about 30 years now, and it's built. There are quite a few new groups that are out here, and you're having the opportunity to promote some stuff pretty easy and get folks to know about your services, and people actually want them. So it's all positive. I am praying that all those who are looking to get firearms instruction and training are going to find the right instructors. I'm praying that, but you know, as I've traveled and spoke and been a part of this community, my life has changed. I've learned that we all have some issues. We all have some stuff that we're not proud of. We all have some stuff we have to overcome and to do better. And it made me different. I started off pretty radical, going to be different than all the people that came before me. I wasn't going to take no crap. I was going to be doing this and doing that. And as I got older and this and that happened to me, I learned to roll with the punches, to fight the battles that I could win, to get more strategic in what I was doing. And I learned that quite a few people are also doing the same thing. I also learned that my forte, my strength was in taking care of the people that were around me. Now, if you know anything about social work, you know that they're not paid that much. It's the ones who litigate, those who are in the business of making money for people who have dreams, to profit off of them, that kind of thing. And I became the pastor of patriots, pistoleros, and paladins, all those who are in this battle for the right to keep their arms, that are in this battle to protect their families, in this battle to just be decent citizens. I wanted to make sure that you were okay. And that has just increased tenfold since then. So now my aim is not to get rich. My aim is not to compete with anybody but myself. I'm actually trying to improve myself. There's a whole bunch of things that I want to do before I leave this planet. And a lot of it has nothing to do with firearms. But you, I still care about. And that's why I'm back. That's why this podcast is still rocking and rolling. And I'm going to be sharing some opinions, some big opinions that might differ from yours. And the goal of it is to make you think. The goal of it is to make you decide. The goal of it is to give you another opportunity to consider another viewpoint based on somebody else's life. Not saying I'm right. I think I am. But, in the next coming monologue, you'll hear some of those opinions based on my experiences. Again, take what works for you, leave what doesn't, and no matter what, don't leave here the same way you came in. Grow. And this week I have on my guest line, Joe Petrolino. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How we doing today, Reverend? It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, I'm doing really, really good now that I got you on the line. You wrote a book recently, which is for firearms instruction for training, an easy to follow guide. Tell me about your new book.
So Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use, is a book that I put together basically to get somebody that's completely clueless about firearms up to speed and confident enough to at least, get to a range and maybe take their first shots. So the book was born basically out of a class that I had written about a year and a half ago, and I needed material to go along with it, and that's kind of how the book was born. It wasn't like I just woke up and said, "Oh, I'm going to write a book." It just kind of dawned on me that one would enhance my students' experiences.
Yeah. When I looked at it, I thought, all right, this is a good piece to have in your face when you're a new person. Not all the terms are defined. It's easy to read. Is it on Amazon now?
Yes, sir. It's on Amazon, so you can get it off of Amazon. You could also go to my website, which is johnpetrolino.com. So that's petrolino.com, and that has links to the Amazon page as well.
What's some of the challenges that you had for this one? Like, were you sure you're going to make it simple, or did you have a hard time trying to, get the complex into the simple, or was that like a natural thing for you?
I feel like I approached it to be as conversational as possible. I wanted it to sound like I was talking with my students when I work with them. So it wasn't too challenging to keep it flowing. I guess my biggest challenge in those regards was trying to keep it as less technical as possible. And I know you had an opportunity to look at some of the material. I hope I kind of hit the mark there where it's not going over people's heads too much with the material, just kind of flow. That's what I was aiming to do.
I think you did, actually. It's what's really missing that I thought was the fluff and the garbage that a lot of us writers have to put in there, because we think you have to have like bona fides established, or you have to put some stuff in there so folks will know who you're talking to. Well, nobody cares about that stuff, really. They want to know what they want to know, and you got it right there in their face. So I thought that was like really good to do.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment, because I want this to appeal to everybody. It's not just for gun enthusiasts. Yeah, I want gun enthusiasts to pick this book up, read it, and I want them to pass it on to friends or suggest it to friends or relatives or whomever, because as you know, the gun ownership thing is going up exponentially over the last year, and we've got a lot of new gun owners out there. And my biggest concern, and the book was started before this influx and swell of gun owners, but my concern has always been focused on education and training. And I want people that go out and buy new guns not to just think, oh, I could just buy this gun and then get out there and start hitting the X every single time. I feel that education and training is the principle to safety, and that's going to, safeguard our sport and our rights. We want our people to be safe, and by our people, I mean all people. So that's why I put this together, to try to appeal to new gun owners and veterans alike, to where there's kind of a middle ground there, and that's kind of where it's about. What it's about.
How long have you been teaching?
I started doing I did my NRA basic, my basic instructor training back in, I want to say 2014 or 15, probably 2014, I think is when I did it. But going back even further than that, I was at a Boy Scout camp and I was shooting shotgun doing my merit badge. And after I got through doing that, they actually invited me to stay on. So I was introduced to formal firearms instruction training back when I was 16. And that's when, I kind of started to work a little bit with people. And then from there, my instruction was mostly informal. And it wasn't until I was taking a class, can't remember when it was, I was taking a class, and one of the fellows I was taking the class with was shooting in the dirt. And I said, there's got to be a better way to teach this, to get this guy on paper. And that's kind of how I ended up wanting to be an instructor. So I want to be able to get people on paper, you know?
Yeah. Just didn't want to take their money. You wanted to actually impart some stuff.
Right. And it's not about the money. Hey, the money is great for the time, but, you know, again, my focus has always been, I want to have people going out there and leaving with the same number of holes in them that they started the day with. I think that's the most important thing.
No, absolutely. What class would you like to take next?
I definitely want to start to step up my my class resume with some more of the, you know, tactical stuff. I don't have a tremendous amount of the self-defense training. I've done some of the personal protection inside the home classes and things like that. The big challenge that I have is I'm from Jersey. So as you know, Jersey is not a free state. So it's not like firearm carry is something that is a reality. So the everyday, day-to-day carry of firearms and thought process and all of that is not part of our culture in Jersey, unfortunately. And because of it, I probably haven't taken as many of the more higher level classes that I should have. But that's definitely some stuff that I want to get into. Some of the real-time drills where they set you up in a in a shoot house or whatever and wake you up in the middle of the night type of stuff like that. That kind of intrigues me.
Yeah, it's a shame because Jersey is a beautiful state. The laws are just crazy. I mean, y'all got everything, beaches and rolling hills and farm. And I mean, it's a nice state, but the laws are jacked up. Yeah,
the laws in Jersey they're ridiculous. And we're just battling an uphill battle, as you know, with the Supreme Court turning down the 10 cases that they were being asked to hear. I think two of those cases were Jersey cases. It was the Rogers case and the Cheeseman case, and both of those dealt with carry. And just talk about a total letdown.
Yeah, you guys have been fighting it for a minute. And if you're not from the East Coast, if you are in the Midwest, listen to this, and you're just like, I can't imagine living like that. But if you are on the East Coast, there are so many states here where you are abused and your rights are always under attack.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. I feel the word is that we're getting from a couple of different reliable sources is that they're already gearing up for some more gun control in Jersey, just as they are in Virginia. I think sounds like Virginia is going to spring into some stuff. They have a special session. So the gun control thing is real. And to your listeners out in the Midwest, here's the thing, this anti-gun thing, it's a cancer and it spreads. So looking at what's happening on the East Coast and California and Hawaii, and seeing it as a ludicrous thing that can never happen. Hey, it's spreading, and Virginia flipped. I mean, the laws that are being passed in Virginia are awful. So if it can continue to spread, you want to keep that stuff out of your state. You have to support these states that are floundering, really, and that's one thing I can say.
Oh yeah, when you think it's just them over there, then you're messing up because we're all in it together. As soon as you decide to become pro-gun, you're involved in a fight that's bigger than you. It's not just your guns; it's everybody's guns.
Oh, absolutely, and it's definitely it's a perishable thing that I feel we're constantly under attack. But who knows? Maybe some good things will come over time. We've got an influx, like I said, of new gun owners and record numbers of NICS checks with. I think Jersey already hit and surpassed the number of NICS checks that they had last year. I mean, don't hold my feet to the fire on that statistic, but we're definitely in the realm of selling more guns than we were, at least doing the NICS background checks than it ever happened in the state of Jersey. So it's historic, and given Jersey's incredibly more liberal leanings, hopefully we can get some of these voters engaged to say, hey, I went to go and buy a firearm and this was incredibly difficult. And what do you mean I can't keep it in my car? Or what do you mean I can't carry it? And kind of wake up some people, because that's what we need. We need the people that are also the new gun owners to say, hey, this is weird. Why are we doing this? And have them get back to their legislators that they may have had relationships for years. And for whatever reason, this thing became a partisan thing, Reverend. And I don't understand why it's partisan. It's for everybody. Left, right, center, white, black, yellow, green. It doesn't matter. You know, these are our rights as Americans.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm talking to the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. This is John Petrolino. And get this book if you're an instructor. Get this book if you're an advocate, an activist, because you can help somebody understand some of the terminology. You can kill some falsehoods. And the book is really as it is. It's an easy-to-read guide. This has been John J. Petrolino III from Jersey, and he's on the Black Man with a Gun show. Decoding Firearms. Try to get this book. It's on Amazon right now.
Thank you, Reverend. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you for your time, man. And I'll keep pushing this thing because it's a really good book, man. Good job.
No, I appreciate it, Ken, and I'm glad you got something out of it, and I hope that other people do too. I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to go back home to their loved ones, whether it's target practice, rights preservation, or self-defense. We need to be safe.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Attention, fellow riders. The world today is bombarded with content, and you need your content to stand out from and rise above the rest. You have a lot to say, and you want to reach as many people as possible, but you also need your content to positively reflect your work and who you are. That's where we come in. Make a better impression by hiring a pro to edit your work before it's delivered to the world. Blogs, essays, novels, cover letters and resumes, anything with words. It's simple. If you need it to be read, you need it to be proofread. Please visit scriptoriaproofreading.com. Again, that's scriptoriaproofreading.com. Thank you for listening.
All right. If you're in the state of Maryland and you're just thinking about getting a firearm, this is for you. Gun ownership itself, it's a good thing. But there are a lot of hoops required in the state of Maryland. And if you're not in the state where you have a driver's license, it's determined where you can buy your handgun. State laws vary from state to state. In Maryland, before you can purchase a gun, you must have a HQL, also known as a handgun qualification license. Now, if you live in Prince George's County, Charles County, somewhere near the District of Columbia, I recommend Fred's Outdoors. It's a 4-hour course for this handgun qualification license. If you know of a local trainer that's offering the class, then by all means, take care of them. I'm just saying Fred's because they have classes on the regular, like every day, 6 days a week. And they have convenient classes. It's in Waldorf, Maryland, off Crane Highway. And you can look it up at fredsports.com. It takes about $120 for this thing. You have to call and make an appointment. It is handled by the Maryland State Police, as all firearms related stuff in Maryland. And it will take you a minute after you take the class to get your card. And I'll have the links for you on the show notes for this episode. Then you can buy a handgun of your choice. You have to fill out a form known as the 4472 to purchase that is quite long. And it'll take you between 7 and 10 days after that is submitted for you to be able to pick up the gun that you just bought. Maryland is so anti-gun that it won't even say that you are approved. It'll have a stamp saying not disapproved. That's kind of like a crazy legal term. Even after you buy your firearm, you're going to need to buy training and practice equipment, eye and ear protection. You're going to need to buy ammo and have a way to safely lock and store your firearm in addition to the gun. Shotguns, which everybody says is great for home protection, are scarce right now. And the ones that aren't, there's a reason why they're still there. They're not as good as the ones that are missing. Did you know that the calibers of your handguns matter if you're using it for whatever reason you're using it for? Some are for target shooting, like in .22s, and some are for self-defense. For self-defense, a .380 is the minimum. And you want to go with 9mm, .357, .38, .40, .45. And all ammo is not equal, just in case you didn't know that. Some cost more than others. And even some of these calibers are used for practicing, and they're cheaper. Then the defensive loads with hollow points or silver tips. Concealed carry, it's a whole nother issue in the state of Maryland. And the following information I'm about to give you is coming right off the website. On March 12th, 2020, Governor Hogan issued an executive order entitled Extending Certain Licenses, Permits, Registrations, and Other Governmental or Authorizations, and authorizing suspension of legal time requirements. And this order extends the Maryland wear and carry handgun permit expiration date to the 30th day after the COVID-19 state of emergency had been lifted. The Licensing Division is making every effort to notify allied law enforcement agencies of the extension of these permit expirations pursuant to the governor's executive order. In Maryland, they call it a handgun wear and carry permit. Before you can legally wear and carry a firearm, you must possess and maintain on your person this Maryland State Police issued handgun wear and carry permit. And submission of the application does not give you the authorization to carry, wear, or transport a handgun in the state of Maryland. You got to fill this puppy out. You have to go to the website and start the process. You have to be between 18 and 21 years old, and you cannot have been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor. And almost the same stuff that means that if you couldn't buy a gun, you can't carry one either. The kicker, which is in bolded letters here, is that you must have good and substantial reason to wear, carry, or transport a gun, such as finding that the permit is necessary as a reasonable precaution against danger. And that thing has been a bone of contention forever in the state of Maryland. As of 2013, there's a list of approved firearms training courses within 2 years prior to submitting the original or renewal application. So you have to find the right trainer, the right training that's approved through Maryland State Police, in addition to filling out this paperwork. And then you'll need a passport photo, an electronic fingerprint, and documentation of the handgun training or exemption. And then you have to wait 90 days for this completion of the application process. And usually the fingerprints electronically will cost about $75. And the application itself, I'm not sure how much that thing is costing now. But all of that goes to the Maryland State Police in Pikesville, Maryland. And with all that being said, your firearm will be restricted. You can't have it on school property within 1,000 feet of a demonstration in a public place, in legislative buildings, aboard aircraft, in lodging established where the innkeeper doesn't want you there, in and around state-owned public buildings and grounds, on Chesapeake Forest lands, in state forests, in state parks, in state highway rest areas, unless properly secured within a vehicle, on dredge boats, in communities, adult rehabilitation centers, in child care centers. Yeah, pretty tough spot. Wear and carry. If you have any questions, I'm going to put the links to everything that I mentioned and stumbled over for you to read for yourself about Maryland. Got it? Good. Since 2014, I have been a member of the Crossbreed holster family. If you carry concealed, get a holster that supports not only your firearm, but your freedom, the faith, and this brother with a try-it-free lifetime guarantee. Crossbreedholsters.com. Crossbreedholsters.com. I want to call this episode The World According to Ken because this is all based on my experiences, my limited knowledge, and just life. Stuff I've been doing here on the planet for about 58 years. I worked for some time, almost 20 years, in a Central Intelligence Agency. Some of you know that already. And it gave me a special look at the world. So this is the world according to Ken. I do believe that the U.S. is the best country in the world. It has so many freedoms. We are oblivious to when we give them up. The citizens walk around entitled, proud, clueless for the most part. We don't vote as often as we should. We don't look deeper at things than we should. We just accept things as they are. And the rest of the world is hungry. The rest of the world is interested. The rest of the world is looking to help their interest. They want more money, more tech, more health. And they do it through intel, through looking for stuff that we have to steal. Around the world, we do have allies. Yes, we do. We have those who have the same enemies that we do, and But everybody just about is an enemy of the U.S., actually, even our good friends. But it's not like the movies, the spies. They still use the same stuff, though, just not the high tech as much. They do more with the honeypot. They do more with money, focusing on the greed of individuals, ideology, religion, nationalism. They use people. They use social media. They use, parties. They use tech and lots and bots and hacking. I give you an example. See, most of the stuff is for the long play. From the makers of the people who created the game chess. They spot, assess, target an individual. They develop them. They recruit them. They seek their vulnerabilities. They blackmail if they have to. For a long time, the Central Intelligence Agency didn't allow gay people inside because they were easily to be blackmailed. But in the last 20 years, that curtain has come down. So now that there's no blackmailable offense for being gay, lesbian, bi, gender, that whole thing, then things changed. But they're still there. They get their interest by helping you buy something, helping you get something, maybe even get you a wife so that you can owe them. Going to make you an offer that you can't refuse. It works that way. Sometimes it's really bad. Causes the death of people. Armies have to go to fight. Sometimes it's just access. Access to industrial secrets, access to science, access to medical, access to politics, access to something. But as always, for their interest, for their betterment. World leaders have been doing this stuff since the beginning of time. It's all the ones that we're friendly with at sometimes we're not. China and Russia, Israel, the Arab nations. It's all about influence and access. They will influence a politician if they can to give them an in. And that's when it affects us. Comes down to us eventually. The NRA spent $30 million to elect President Trump. And there's a question if that $30 million came from you and me in the fundraiser that they do. Or was it a pass-through from President Putin of Russia? Politics sucks. I hate politics, but it's in everything. It's in business, it's in the church, it's in families, and it's in our government. And we think it's just in the government. But it covers all the topics. And no matter whether you are a Republican, independent, libertarian, or Democrat, you have a stance on abortion, flat tax, the National Endowment of the Humanities, school prayer, AIDS research, gambling in the lottery, capital punishment, gun control, Americans with Disabilities Act, terrorism, the decriminalization of drugs, same-sex marriage, minimum wage or living wage, TV and movie ratings, school vouchers, affirmative action, covenant marriage, national health care, faith-based delivery of social services, sex education in schools, and immigration. Those are all the evergreen topics of almost every political person, regardless of party. But we, as gun owners, like to focus on just one, gun control. But politics are bigger than that. I was wondering the other day why we only have two parties. And that's because we're so free, we're so busy, that we only want two things to decide on. The more options that we have, the less we'll probably do anything. So if you just give us two, then we'll do one or the other. But there are so many other things we could be doing. We choose not to. And even though we have two parties, we have single issue voting. So if you can say that out loud and with a straight face and not be ashamed that all you care about is your gun rights, then the hell with the rest of the world, right? The hell with the rest of the country, the hell with the rest of our community. That you don't mind that it's sold out as long as they're pro-gun for now. Now, I know I'm not making any friends with this comment, but I'm just keeping it real and hopefully opening your eyes to how things are. I want you to think about what you do, what you say from this point forward. Now in 2020, we're talking about Black Lives Matter. BLM is everywhere. It has two connotations. There's the politically correct version, and there's the one that scares everybody. It's based on the Black Power movement started by Stokely Carmichael, also known as Kwame Ture. The defund the police came from the Black Panther Party for self-defense and their change to try to stop the police brutality that was happening in the 60s. Nothing's new. But let's dig a little deeper than that. Let's go back to June 16th, 1966. The police in Greenwood, Mississippi arrested the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee chairman by the name of Stokely Carmichael after a dispute over allowing participants in a march against fear. After leaving jail, Carmichael declared an electrifying speech. What we're going to start saying now is Black Power. While many ideas associated with Black Power, racial pride, solidarity, self-determination, cultural integrity had been around forever, this call for Black Power started something new, just like BLM is right now. Nobody wants structural racism. Everybody wants solidarity. Everybody wants this thing to be democratic in principle and created in their own institutions. They want it to be free. But somehow when you add people to it, it changes depending on who's saying it. Even back then, many radical Black Power activists and organizations heeded Carmichael to search for new forms of Black politics. The Black Panther Party and the League of Revolutionary Workers sought to synthesize Black Power's nationalist orientation with Marxist-Leninist, anti-capitalist politics. Yeah, it's been around before. Now, all this stuff was happening at the same time that King was trying to do the nonviolent thing. And Carmichael was younger, so he was frustrated. He was witnessing the beatings and the murders of civil rights activists. And when he became the chairperson of SNCC, he thought, maybe we could do more. And it split from King's ideology of nonviolence and racial integration. We're right there again. There are a whole bunch of folks on Instagram who love segregation. They love separate but equal. They're as anti-war now as they were in Vietnam. And we got folks who are denouncing the BLM thing too, as being anti-white, as being, a negative, too militant. Folks don't know what to do. And that's what's scary, because in the vacuum, in the quietness, in the not quite sure what to do, it allows for other people to jump in and change the narrative, change the direction, to infiltrate, to cause confusion, use social media to make people fight, to make people react. Now, Black Lives Matter isn't any different from Yes, We Can or Make America Great Again or Medicare for All, with the exception as that they were made to mobilize a broader electoral and political coalition. This one is touching on pride. It's touching on nationalism. It's touching on pain. It's reminding people about the deaths of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Tony McDade, and a whole bunch of folks peeling and snatching off the bandage off of a seeping wound. And then you get that defund the police, which came pretty much during the Marxist-Leninist time with the Bolsheviks, which came again when the Black Panther Party adopted the Little Red Book from Mao Zedong, and we go back around again. And like my friends used to say all the time, make it stop. All right, so I've told you all that. And I'm saying I don't have a solution. If I did, I would stop for a minute. I would pause and I would give you how the way to fix all this stuff, but I don't have it. I'm on this planet just like you. I've just seen stuff happen again. I'm just reading and learning about stuff that's happened again. I'm trying to inform those who are making decisions today that some of this stuff has happened already before and we haven't progressed that far. And then some of the stuff that's happening right now is happening because folks don't know their history. Folks are being used. Folks are being manipulated. And we're suffering because we're the little people just trying to get by through COVID-19 and the corona. And we're not even happy with that. We're fighting whether or not to wear a mask. There's a deacon from my church right now that is in hospital from COVID-19. And yet I will see daily somebody say how it was a pandemic. Come on now. Everything ain't a damn conspiracy. And when it is, you don't even see it. But I digress. And since we talked about concealed carry and protecting your home earlier, or did I? Well, I meant to. Let's talk about staying your ground and the Castle Doctrine, which are not the same. The two have a connection to what happened with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, but they're not one and the same. And one is left sometimes to wonder if the confusion isn't deliberate on what people say. Castle Doctrine is actually a legal doctrine that provides protection to people inside their place of residence, as detailed by a lengthy discussion in Wikipedia. While not exactly defined in statute in all corners of the nation, Colorado instituted such a law in 1985 that was quickly dubbed the Make My Day statute because it protected people who used lethal force against home invaders. Opponents nicknamed the law as something of a sneering reference to that line spoken by Harry Callahan of Dirty Harry's, Clint Eastwood thing. The concept that a man's home is his castle really doesn't equate with standing your ground outside the home, which is where a lot of self-defense cases occur. While the Castle Doctrine does provide for the no duty to retreat, when attacked in one's own home, the concept of stand your ground laws is that they provide for some of the same protections away from the residents. I know that sounds like legal double talk. You see, one does not have a responsibility to retreat from an attack that happens in any place where the intended victim has a right to be. So remember, in some cases, there is no opportunity or option to retreat. There is only the choice of fighting back or submitting, possibly being killed. So neither the stand your ground or castle doctrine allows the wanton killing of someone, despite what may have been imitated or initiated by anti-self-defense advocates. Certain standards and parameters of self-defense must be met. In 22 states, according to Wikipedia, and in Washington state, a series of court rulings dated back nearly a century have affirmed that there is no duty to retreat in the Evergreen state. However, once again, a self-defense claim would have to be supported by the facts. One simply cannot throw oneself in harm's way and then claim self-defense on the stand your ground argument. Dr. Lott mentioned previously that murder rates fall in those states where there's stand your ground and castle doctrine laws. While opponents of either concept disagree, I'm going with what Dr. Lott says. Perhaps nowhere has opposition to stand your ground more than Florida, primarily because of what happened with Trayvon Martin. When the law was passed with bipartisan support in the Florida legislature, the House passed a 94-20 and the Senate passed it 39-0. Apparently some people didn't understand the ramifications until citizens who used the law began claiming it as part of their defense strategy after they had shot someone. For many on the political left, the concept of self-defense is fine. But the utilization of self-defense, especially in cases where white people shoot black people, is a politically incorrect no-no. Stand your ground is still a hot-button issue. Long story short, as a defense, stand your ground quickly takes on a life of its own. It definitely is not a snap-your-fingers kind of law, at least as is being enforced in Florida. Stand your ground is relatively new legal territory in a lot of places, even in Florida, though the statute has been on the books for more than a decade now. Proponents and opponents of such laws will use it to pick legal nits with the citizens who claim he or she was standing their ground, being stuck in the middle, what essentially becomes a game of one-upmanship as the courts sort through the arguments. But wait, there is more. And it involves the invocation of what is typically called an affirmative defense. And this is the kind of stuff that you learn from Masad Ayub in any of his classes. This is the proverbial downside of stand your ground, in that when it is invoked as a defense, the defendant, as noted in the editorial in Florida, in the Alcala Star Banner, bears the burden of proof by the preponderance of the evidence at the pretrial evidentiary hearing. Rather than requiring the state to prove one's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant has to prove he or she is innocent and thus be spared from prosecution. So you can win in court and still lose. As the newspaper editorial put it, the person who invokes stand your ground in defense of his or her actions bears the burden of proving a violent act was motivated by self-defense and thus should be excused from prosecution. The newspaper used the opportunity to suggest that the legislature revisit this stand your ground, not necessarily to rewrite the law, but to rework its language to be more definitive and to clarify who exactly is responsible for making the case about the justification of force. Now, why does that matter to you? Because as soon as you become a gun owner, as soon as you become a part of this community. I don't care where you're coming from. All this stuff falls on you. As soon as you say, I'm going to buy a firearm for my protection, I'm going to buy a firearm because I want to make sure I'm safe in my home. As soon as I buy a gun for recreation, as soon as I buy one because it's cool before I get one, for whatever reason, you become a mixture of this stuff that you might not even care about up until today. While you're worrying about the cool gun, the right ammo, where you're going to store it, you will be involved in the political part of gun control. Can't get out of it. You'll be confused with all the people who come before you, all the folks who come after you. Welcome to our world. They have tried to divide us, but you're held strong. You have neighbors and family that don't know how cool you are, but I do. Help me and support this podcast. Help me be the goodwill ambassador for our side. Nobody likes to start over. Together, we can do this thing. Go to patreon.com/blackmanwithagun. Did you get it? patreon.com/blackmanwithagun. All right, I think I caused enough trouble for one day. If you liked the episode, please let me know. If you don't like it, please let me know. And if you do, please share it with somebody. Just in case nobody has told you this today, let me be the first. I love you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. We're going to get through this. Yes, we are. Together. Until then, shalom, baby.
Until next time, friends.
To keep in touch with Ken and his cause, head over to blackmanwithagun.com.